let's make a 1930s dress. Alright, we're also going to trim a hat because this is a vintage one that I found. I don't actually know what time it is because I'm not good at dating hats. And the straw is still in good shape, and the ribbon's in good shape, and the veil is just completely shredded. So we're going to add a new veil to it, and y'all know I love veils, so that makes me very happy. So yeah, it's all red, and as far as the dress goes, we're going to use an original pattern from the mid-1930s. So we have that Ford Model A, Flossie, and Rhett and I are going on a ride with our local Model A club in May. And I do have a dress I could wear to this. I have the other blue dress that we drafted last year off my original, which would be totally appropriate, and I haven't worn it with this club yet because I'm new to the club, so that would be totally acceptable. But I've gotten the itch for a new dress, so we're going to make a new dress. I was going to make a Hooverette dress, so my friend Marna Davis had an original pattern, printed the whole pattern out, I taped it all together, I cut out the pattern pieces, and then I realized that it's a Hooverette, which I knew because between our texts and such, Marna had been calling it the Hooverette dress. Like, I knew it was a Hooverette, but it suddenly clicked it in my brain that Hooverettes are house dresses. They are not meant to go out driving in, and this is kind of like a nice event, so I really want to make that Hooverette. I have the fabric all out. It's a reproduction fabric. I'm really excited to work on it. But I don't think that this event is what I need that dress for. And because I still want a new dress for that event, I'm having to put the Hooverette away for right now. And in a couple months we'll circle back to it. I have to make a motor core dress. That's technically in 2 weeks, and this event is in 4 weeks. But I'm doing this one first because I want to. I had the pattern all printed out, so we can go ahead and get cutting. Okay, so I have the skirt set out here. Now my sari has a little cotton hem on most of the sari, so I'm using that as my hem, so I won't have to hem this at all, which saves us a whole step. There's also a spot in the skirt where it looks like when the fabric was printed, it was folded over, so that part didn't get printed. And I've managed to avoid that with as little fabric wastage as possible. And I'm hoping that since I'm cutting on the very bottom for all of these, that the stripes are going to match up when I sew the pieces together. But I'm not entirely hopeful on that. And I would wear a slip with this, so I'm not going to have to line any of this, which is another step I don't have to take. For a lot of my construction details, like, I don't follow patterns. I'm not good at it, but I can follow what originals show me. And I have that original 1930s gown. I'm going to use as many of the construction details as I can. Although this is a much nicer dress than that was. You know, that one turned out really cute. Since I have this extra at the top, I'm wondering if it will rip somewhat straight. Because I have these two things. I have a tie. I need only one of them? Okay, so I have a tie, and then I have a ruffle, actually, that goes on the cape. I'm going to cut that one first, because I'd rather that already have the pre-hemmed edge if I can manage that. Let's see. Not entirely hopeful. Rip straight, come on. I can't tell. Well, maybe. Yeah, that's ripping straight. Okay. To a second spot. I'm going to make it a little bit longer because I see a couple spaces where, again, the fabric was pulled over when it was printed. So, if I give it a couple inches, I can make seams to hide that. This way, I'd have the paisleys on the bottom. I don't know how that would look versus just having it in the center. Okay, I'm going to do one piece at a time, because the back and the front and I think the cape all need to be cut on the fold. I'm not going to do the giant bow. I have enough going on in my bust area to add a bow. That's going to be far too much, and yeah, that's not going to look good on me. So we're going to do the option without the bow. We're going to cut out these few other pieces, and we'll start sewing this thing together. A lot of the fiddly work's already done, because like hemming that ruffle would have taken a long time, and that's already done. Hemming the skirt is already done, and there's extra fabric at the bottom to give it a little bit of weight to make it drape nicely. So really a lot of the fiddly work is done, and we just have to sew the thing together. We are starting with darts. Just the front has 2 darts right underneath the arm, because it's a mostly gathered bodice. Now sewing the side seams, I'm going to debate whether I actually want to finish these seams later on. Most of the original I have is not finished, except for weirdly the underarm seam, which is serged, but none of the other ones are serged. They're just left raw. Sewing this together the skirt. So I also sewed together the not only the side seams but the shoulder seams. I forgot about those, and I did end up finishing those seams. I don't know if I'm going to finish all the seams, but the fabric does already seem to be unraveling a little bit, and that's not usually a good sign. So we may end up finishing all the seams. Doing an overcast seam, which is similar to the original serging seam that I found on the other original. Definitely wasn't a full on like serger looking stitch, but this is decently close to what that was. Now the skirt's sewn together, we are going to sew the bodice to the skirt. Also, it told me to put a gathering thread on the bodice because I assumed we were going to gather the bodice into the skirt, but no, the bodice and the skirt are the exact same measurement. So that was a waste of thread. To finish off the neckline, I have a bit of bias of the same fabric. Put the bias all on here. We're going to do the same thing with the armholes as well. So this will get ironed, and I'm going to fold it this way and this way, and probably whip stitch that. That's going to look the best if I do that by hand. The sleeves I may end up machine stitching simply because they're not going to be seen. I don't think there's any closures on this. I do need to run a gathering thread on the ruffle, so I can put that to the collar. I gotta figure out how to attach the collar. I'm hoping I didn't do anything wrong and I was supposed to attach it at the shoulders. We'll figure that out. Actually, I may not have wanted to put this on yet. I'll look it up. Alright, I kind of did the whole collar without filming because A, I wasn't thinking, and B, it just ended up being a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And I'm not entirely happy with how it's sitting so far. Because, okay, there's the back collar piece, and then there's this front piece that you have to gather here, and then also at the center front, between the bust. And it wasn't fitting the bodice back. It was way too big. So I've had to put a tuck in here that I'm not thrilled about, but I think it looks okay because I put the tuck right underneath the gathering here. And I think that kind of hides it, but I think I am going to have to top stitch that just to keep that tuck in place. But right now I'm going to redo the neck binding because I did have to take that apart. Now I have, oops, let's turn it to the other side. The binding turned over so all the raw edges are covered. I'm just going to sew that down. I'm going to go ahead and do it by machine. I know I said I'd probably do it by hand, but I think I'm just going to do it by machine. Let's see, the very center front here needed to be gathered up, which I did, but it's kind of coming out, so I think I'm going to need to sew that down. I just pulled the gathering thread. I didn't actually do anything to it, so it just needs to be reinforced. I'm going to pull the gathering thread a little bit more to kind of give it a little bit. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and stitch. It doesn't really say what to do, but I have here the edge. I think I just sew that down. This is just the center front, because again, we're not doing the bow. I don't want to do the bow. But the illustration also has, you know, an illustration without the bow, so I know it's appropriate. Okay. Let's see, is there anything else I need to do? A belt. We need to make the belt. Alright, the belt's going to be super easy. So I have a bit of linen for the lining. And then I just have the fashion fabric. I'm sandwiching them together, sewing them up. Also, just in case anyone was wondering, the side seam got bound with the neckline and the arm's eyes. But there's no closures on it according to the directions. So I'm guessing the belt just holds everything closed, and you do have undergarments like underneath. Like you have a slip on. So anything that gapes open, you're not going to see skin. But I just thought that was odd. But that's what the directions say. So we're going to keep with that. I mean, it's less work. So I'm always up for less work. This will get turned right side out, and probably using a knitting needle would be super helpful here, so I'll find one. I'm going to pull it all right side out, give it a good iron. Alright, we're going to work on hats for a little bit. So I have the hat, which again has this lovely red velvet everywhere. There's a little safety pin we're going to take out. Also, it's strange to me, but this is on the front side. It's not in the back like what my brain thinks it should be. But this is all completely falling apart. So we're just going to come in and cut out the veil. There's no saving this, unfortunately. There's not much here to save, to be quite frank. I see they just tacked it in by hand for a few places. Okay. Oops. Also, I'm going to make a mark. This is where the veil ends. There's the center back. So this is where it would end over here. Because it doesn't go all the way around the head. It only goes partially around the head. Veil options. I have a little bit of a gray left, which is the same gray we used in the 20s. I have some brown, which I don't like with the red. I'm going to get rid of that one. Like a maroon, which I don't like with the red. A bright purple. I don't know if I like that with the red. A green would look nice. I don't even know what you would call that. It's like a brownish maroon. Yeah, I don't think so. Or pink. Nope. There is the black option. I think I'm leaning towards the green. Maybe the gray. I think we can do the gray, and I think gray would look good. The green's a very plain veil. It's not, it doesn't have the dots in it. I'd have to double it up, because it's just like barely existent. I like the gray veiling best, but I like that the green, there's green in the original, there's green in the dress, and I know I'm not matching this to the dress because it's going to be like just a regular 30s hat, but I'm leaning towards the green. I think we're going to do with green. Okay. And this can just go right underneath the ribbon. And this is likely going to just have to be stitched on by hand. I do have more, velvet leaves, so I want to replace them, but those are very bright green leaves, and that's very dull, and I don't know if I like that together. And there's just not really gathering, but it does need to be kind of folded in, if that makes any sense, so that it fits. Okay, this bottom one didn't get put in there at all. Oh, the joys of working with multiple layers of this stuff. Alright, so finishing up the hat, so smaller stitches. I'm using a red thread since it matches the red ribbon. Going around the hat is where the veil is. And that should hold everything together, and I think we'll be done with the hat, because that's really all that needed to be done since I decided not to retrim it. Personally, I would have preferred to do like a pink ribbon and all of that, and like take all the trimming apart and redo it. But it's lined in red, which would make, I'd have to take the entire thing apart, and I'm not really willing to do that, so it's going to stay red. But for both of my nice 30s dresses, if we're going to call the other one, you know, nice as well, and they're both blue, well, one's blue, one's navy, so red works just fine. Alright, here we are. So, I actually really like how fluttery the little cape is. I think that's so cool. I like it a lot more than I thought I would. I'm not a huge fan of the 1930s, but I do like this. It's very interesting. Sorry, the cats are both in the house right now. They're fighting, so they don't get along too well. This is my favorite sleeveless dress. I don't like sleeveless dresses, but it is a sleeveless dress, technically, because this is the sleeve. It's going to be a lot of fun driving around and Flossie this thing. This is going to go whoop and just kind of stay like that. It's going to be like a superhero cape. Just a really short one. Yeah. But this I like. Will I wear this for modern wear? Probably not. Maybe. I mean, I said no to the other 1920s, 30s dress that we made, and I wore that almost all summer. So maybe this will be the same. I do have to figure out something to do about this belt. I have a bunch of mother of pearl belt buckles, but they're too small for this. I need a 2-inch one instead of a 1-inch belt buckle, and I don't have any. So right now I'm holding it together with pins, and I don't have any other belt buckles that would work other than mid-19th century ones, which the black rectangular one would probably work, at least for now, until I find a really good one, because I kind of want to find one in an antique store, like an actual vintage one that looks really nice and kind of goes with color scheme, because they had all sorts of cool belt buckles in the, you know, 1920s to 1940s and 50s. So I think I could find a really good one. It just might take a little bit of searching. So I might either just keep it pinned or wear that 1850s and 60s one for the time being until I find what I want, if that makes sense. I'll probably set it off to the side. We like to do that in the 30s for some strange reason. Yeah, the veil could be a little bit lower, I think, if I had an inch or two longer, but I can pull it down and reap some of the benefits. And I will absolutely need a hat pin when I'm doing, or when we're in the car, because wind. So, but that is essentially it. I think I'm going to wear the 1920s purse. I was going to make a new one, but I don't think I have the time. I have another really big 20th century project that I need in like a week and a half, so, or 2 weeks. So I need to get that done, and I don't think I'll have time for anything else. Maybe stitching together a sweater real quick, because that's very simple lines. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with this. I think this looks very nice. So I think we'll just call it the two-town dress. I think that's an appropriate term. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me for our little to-town dress 1930s project. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell notification so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And as always, have a fantastic week. I'll see you back here in the next one.